Welcome to the Bristol and Bath Lifting Club. Right, picture this. You're on the cross trainer. I know it's not an effective way to lose weight, but you think it's an effective way to lose weight. And all of a sudden, that person, the person you've probably been eyeing up in your time in the gym, you're dreading that it's some time they're going to come over to you and start a conversation. That day has now come. They've come over and they've started to ask you dull questions about the weather. Your AirPods, they ran out of battery about half an hour ago, but you keep them in your ears just in the hopes that they won't interrupt. But you know that that's futile because they always do. It is that one person, sometimes there's a group of them, in the gym. They are the gym hoes or gym whores, depending on which way you look at it. No, not the people that will put out at a moment's notice.
Not the ladies of the night.
No, not the ladies of the night. We're not going misogynistic or anything here. We're talking about those people that trade their time for money in the gym. Personal trainers.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, gym hoes. Do you get it? Because they trade their time for money, money.
In exchange for knowledge?
Well,
Sometimes. Occasionally.
Occasionally, some of them have knowledge, but I mean, it's not looking great. The industry is not looking great.
No, it's far in between, isn't it?
Is getting a personal trainer, in your opinion, as a personal trainer, worth the money? And how much money is it worth in terms of like for an average person?
That's a really interesting question because it's all about perceived value, isn't it? What can you offer to your client? What do they see that you can offer?
Anything, including anal.
I mean, I think I got my first coach when I was like 22 and I had been doing things wrong for so many years. So when I got my first coach, who happened to be a competitive strongman and powerlifter, I was over the moon. So I was quite happy to pay whatever they were charging at the time because I needed that knowledge because I knew I was holding myself back. So for me, it was 100% worth it. But I've trained in gyms before, like Pure Gym, for example, and some of the trainers there, no offense to the people who are actually decent there, but some of the trainers there really don't have a clue. I mean, we're talking barely any gym experience. They haven't been in the trenches per se. And they've recently finished their level 2 course or whatever. And then
it's a level 3.
It's a level 3.
It's a level 3.
And then they're straight in there. They're straight in teaching and they don't really have any experience to draw on, really.
Personally, I think it's the level 4s you have to watch out for. Be very, very of a level 4. Anyone with a level 4 qualification, I'm very wary of. No, honestly, because the level 2, that's the basic gym instructor qualification. You need that in the UK in order to basically work in the gym, right? The level 3 is the personal training qualification, but then there's further qualifications. And I think at level 3, with the PT qualification, there is more than enough money, if you're good, to be made from that. And at that point, you know that all of the other qualifications is basically just a racket. Like they do not teach you at level 4 on the back pain course really how to fix people's back pain. It's a lot of safeguarding. It's a lot of this, that, and the other. There's like one module on it, and you're better off like just working with people that specialize in that and doing your own research and having your experience and then meeting other people in the industry with experience than going on a course. People that stack up the qualifications, I've often found, are really shit. Can you think of anyone that you've ever met that's like that? Or would that be,
I mean,
you don't want to call people's names out or anything like
maybe
that?
we shouldn't call people out.
Okay.
Maybe on the Patreon.
We'll do it on the podcast, extended edition. Okay.
But for me,
I'm sure we both know people. I've met a bunch of people like that stack up the qualifications.
Yeah, I've definitely met people in my time for sure. And it's really funny because when it comes to getting a coach, like if I was to get a coach, I couldn't give a fuck what level people are. What I do care about is if they can walk the walk and talk the talk.
Right.
So if I was to get a strength coach, I would be like, okay, what numbers is he putting up? What does his physique look like? What is his knowledge of programming? How can you get me to where I want to be? That's the only thing I care about. Have they been in the trenches? Have they tried and failed with multiple methods? How do they know what works and what doesn't? That's all I care about. So I would get a coach based solely on the fact that they're deadlifting over 300 kilos and they know how to program for someone who's at a lower level than them.
Right. So the reason why, because I've spoken to a number of personal trainers about this, because I've always found it fascinating, like how they find their clients from business perspective, what clients they get on with, what areas they may or may not specialize in. And I think that there is something to be said for individual PTs. There are certain types of clients that gravitate towards them. Now, one of my friends, Lee, who used to be my personal trainer, he always said, look, and he worked at Pure Gym, that he said, like, there's always like a certain demographic that would go to him, and like all of his colleagues and stuff like that he worked with Pure Gym, they all had like their own demographics, the types of clients that would kind of gravitate towards each individual one. You could kind of guess what it would be. I think it's a little bit different from an online perspective if you do online coaching and stuff like that. Basically, if you're selling your services and that through the TikTok and the what is it? I was going to say Tumblr. That's a bit old-fashioned. Instagram and the Facebook and all that sort of thing. Then the chances are the vast majority of people that are following you are probably just wanting to fuck you.
Yeah, it could be.
Then the next lot will be people that are never actually going to hire you. They're just following people, kidding themselves into thinking, so that they can kid themselves into thinking that they're actually one day gonna work out.
Yeah, you get those.
They're just doing research, you see, before they actually get that gym subscription and go for the first time.
You also get people who sign on with you, but only a few months, just to say that they've done it.
Right, okay.
Yeah. And I think that's really sad, because we all get clients like that who will sign up for 2 to 3 months and then they'll disappear. Sometimes it's a legit reason, like maybe a financial reason or something going on in their life. But often it's quite sad. They just kind of give up. And it's, from a PT's perspective, when someone signs up with us, like I know I feel this way, I become instantly invested in their goals and what they want to achieve. Like I'm thinking about all the time, how can I get this person to their goals? And then all of a sudden they drop off. And I'm like, that's really sad, because I was invested in your goals. Were you? And it's such a shame as well, because these people, sometimes they carry on training, and especially because I've got an online presence, I can kind of see what they're doing.
Yeah, you spy on them, you mean?
Yeah, I do. They just crop up on my feed.
Damn, they shouldn't have accepted cookies.
Yeah. and often they don't get any further ahead, you know, and it's quite sad. So you get people like that too.
I think the industry in general is in a sorry state, right? And I think that's both from a personal training perspective. So if you are a personal trainer, the industry can be quite sad and not what you were led to believe it would be like. And also to a certain extent from a client perspective, because like I've met a lot of like really inept personal trainers, and I don't have a huge amount of experience, but I've met people that have been doing it for a while, and like it's unbelievable how crap like that they are, even to the point where they don't know how to do a squat properly.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, well, how did you pass your qualification course? I mean, surely did you do like when I had to do it, I had to do 2 in-person exams in an actual gym. I had to do written exams, which were theory based. I also had to shadow someone for 20 hours. So that's 20 hours worth of following another personal trainer around. And I have met other people that's just like, oh no, I did some multiple choice exams and then I submitted a video of me giving a tour around the gym, and I was like, what?
Yeah, it's
that
a bit
was
different.
Literally what you actually qualified?
Yeah,
that's how you qualified?
That's the sort of thing. We don't have like a governing body to kind of, you know, balance everyone's level. Like if
Well,
you
there's
had
simps, but there used to be reps, but that's so apparently. I mean, this is only opinion, of course. Reps, register of exercise professionals, is so unbelievably bad and shit that they let anyone in it.
Yeah.
That, like most of like leisure centers and stuff like that, they used to go by, you need to be reps, or you need to, you know, a gym would say you need to be registered with them, or we don't really care.
Yeah,
Nowadays,
I mean, we need
they
like a
don't.
governing body that's going to have like, I don't know, the same sort of level for everyone. So that way we keep the standard high of people coming through.
There is a simp spa, which I'm a member of. I can't pronounce exactly what it is, what the letters stand for, but they made, in order to get this job, I had to be a member, and they go through all of your qualifications, and they only accept certain qualifications and stuff. So I think to a certain extent, is it getting better? Is it not getting better? I don't know. What I can tell you is that I have never, ever, ever had a client ever ask to see any of my qualifications. And the only time I ever really have clients that choose me, basically pay for my services and have decided before they've even met me that they basically want me, because we normally do a consultation or someone that you meet in the gym, and then they kind of ask questions and that.
Yeah.
But kind of like cold call or like get in touch is normally from like an online profile, and that is very little to do with qualifications. It just says personal trainer, and then I wrote a load of stuff about like my journey and stuff like that. Most of the time, in order to get business, has been from having the words personal trainer written on your back in a t-shirt or something like that. That is worth way more than a qualification.
It is,
and it's a lot cheaper too.
I think like the PT industry is quite ungoverned, and it's kind of the same in martial arts, because I'm also in that industry a little bit.
Yeah.
And for me, it took me 4 years to get my first black belt, and then I had to get my instructorship, and that involved doing like an 8-week course, followed by 100 hours of assisting in classes, followed by 100 hours of leading my own classes before I was a fully qualified instructor. But that kept the level high. But in a lot of times in the martial arts industry, just like the PT industry, anyone can kind of do it. You don't know what you're getting into. As a client, you don't know what this person's done, or what sort of qualifications they have, or training they've had, or competition experience. You have no idea.
Yeah.
You're just kind of going on the fact that they got a club, I'm just going to sign up there. So it's quite unregulated, like PT.
Mark, you're doing it wrong. I know you've got the kickboxing academy. I know you've got 15 years of experience, but I know you were stuck with the, what is it that you call it? Not newbie, when you're stuck in the first phase.
Oh, novice purgatory.
I know you got stuck in novice purgatory for a bit, but I'm
did.
thinking you got stuck with this qualification stuff, because for just £150 you could do a half-day course in boxing, fitness boxing, right? But we'll also throw in the kettlebell right class as well, so you could be a qualified kettlebell instructor and a qualified kickboxing fitness instructor, right? It'll only take half a day.
Damn.
I just need 150 quid. And you know what? It comes with a lot of continued professional extra development points, like CBD points, you know?
You've become a dumbbell instructor as well.
You can do the kettlebells as well, you know?
Yeah.
You've done it all wrong, mate.
I know, I've gone wrong all these years, putting all this time into everything, really studying and trialing different methods. Did it wrong. All I needed was to pay £150 and be a fitness boxercise instructor.
Exactly.
But yeah, the fitness industry is in a sorry state, especially the online sort of presence, because now it's all about, you know, how you look, not about what you know. So how they make money in the fitness industry:
Yeah.
1, be female; 2, be genetically hot; and 3, wear skimpy outfits and do butt shots. And you're probably going to get a lot of followers.
That sounded very misogynistic.
It's the same with men. 1, 1, be a natural chatty guy.
Right.
2, take trend, build up your muscles. 3, pose in front of the camera, double bicep shots, and you'll probably make a lot of money. And the problem with it is...
Yeah, but they don't tell you that you make all the money from doing the gay porn.
Ah, there we go. That's the side hustle.
That is actually like a massive thing. People don't realize that in bodybuilding. Like a lot of people get hooked on drugs and stuff like that, and there is a massive industry. There's a certain extremely very famous bodybuilder that has a video with a pineapple, let's say. You can do your own research on that one.
I think I get the idea.
It's a massive, it's like a massive thing. Like, it's a massive thing no one talks about. We need to do an episode on that at some point. It might have to be a Patreon only.
Yeah. I mean, it's not about what people know anymore. It's kind of about how you look. And it's a shame because if you look at those smaller sort of Instagram pages, you've got these guys who are really strong. They've been training for years. They know what they're doing. They've trialed and failed with multiple methods, been in the trenches, as I like to say. They know their shit, but yet they've got such a small following because they're not in skimpy shorts taking booty shots.
But sex sells, doesn't it?
It does. It
does sell. Although I think there is a big difference between online and in-person, because in-person personal training, people will go by what personal trainers are working in the gym they've signed on for or signed up to, right? I have two clients who have a membership at this gym that we're at purely to see me, because they cannot stand training here. They come here just to see me, and then they go to a Pure Gym up the road in Brislington because they say it's so much better, and they have air conditioning in that one.
Wow,
it's
that's
really
a game changer,
bad.
isn't it?
Like, it's really bad. I'm like, you don't have to come and see me. If you really want, we can just do online coaching. No. I like to see you in person. So yeah, that's two of them. But I think that men, in my experience, men and women often tend to choose a PT in very different ways. So in my experience, I don't know whether you've seen this as well or whether you agree with this, is that men tend to just want to be trained by an older version of them. So like them, what they're trying to accomplish, they will find what their ideal physique is or goals or whatever it is, and they will pick the biggest guy, or they will pick the guy in the gym that looks like that, and they'll approach that person. Whereas women, I find that is really different. So I found that if women have a lot of other supportive women in their life and that, they often will choose a female personal trainer. But if they don't, they'll often gravitate more towards a male personal trainer with a extremely good sense of humor, right? Because what female clients have told me is that they don't want a female personal trainer because that female personal trainer is going to be fit and they don't want to stand next to them. So it's like a self-esteem kind of thing, which is really interesting. Whereas I've got a lot more female clients than I have male clients. And a lot of the female clients, they basically turn around after we get chatting and stuff like that. And I say, what is it? Feedback, what is it why did you choose me? That kind of thing. And they say, well, I've seen you train other women and they're always kind of smiling and you're always doing more exciting things that doesn't involve a cardio machine. You know? I'm like, oh, that's nice, but it's interesting. It's just a repetitive thing of it needs to be to a certain extent like a supportive role. And whereas a lot of men as well, a lot of the men like me to call them a little bitch if they can't do something properly. The women, not so much. Women, they want to be told like, well done, Sheila, you've done really good. I'm proud of you today. You did better than last week. They don't want to be called a little bitch. I can tell you that.
I mean, that would definitely inspire me. If someone called me a little bitch, I'd be like, right, I'm gonna pick this thing up.
I think that's maybe one of the differences between a lot of men and women, is that men like to be called little bitches when they don't quite do a false rep or a cheat curl.
It's funny when you mention cardio machines as well, because a lot of women think that for them to get to where they want to be, they're going to be spending a lot of time on cardio machines. Yeah. When it's so far from the truth. Like if you want to burn fat and tone, most women want to tone, right? Yeah. Which essentially means lose weight and build muscle. You're going to be spending a lot of time pumping the iron. So when it comes to men and women, there's not a lot of difference in how I train them. It's all down to those big, basic, compound exercises, the bang for your buck movements, and getting stronger at them over time. And I've had quite a few female clients who all tell me that they want to tone, and when we dig a little deeper to what that means, essentially they want to build some muscle and get stronger. So to all you females who are listening, maybe one or two of you, just remember that weightlifting is where it's at, and it's not just for guys.
Definitely. the stereotypical kind of thing that comes through on the website, if it's for a women, tends to be when I like on the form, they've got to feel like, what is it that you're interested in terms of from fitness, health, what are your goals, and that is always like usually the same thing. Either mentions toning, or more specifically, it says I need to lose my mum tum, which is always really interesting as well. Whereas for men, it's always like want to get jacked, or that kind of thing, and it's very, very, very stereotypical. But from a training perspective, like, yeah, there are specialist forms of training. Like I've done in the past, I've done gymnastics and stuff like that, which you can't necessarily do in the gym that we're at. We don't have any rings or anything like that. But, in general, it is going to be weight training work with something that takes account of improving your, cardiovascular health.
Exactly.
And most of that's going to be done outside of the gym, let's be fair.
And a lot of people don't realize that when it comes to size, whether gaining size, if you're a skinny dude or girl, or losing size, it mostly comes down to calories. If you're looking to drop weight, you're going to be in a calorie deficit. If you're looking to gain weight, yeah, you're going to be lifting weights, but you're also going to be in a calorie surplus. And that's where most of the size is going to come from. Not your magical 12, 15 rep sets. Because again, that's another illusion, right? People think higher reps build more muscle. It's not entirely true. It's more about progression in a chosen rep range and then eating enough to facilitate growth.
That it is. Let's hope that people will actually remember that. Calorie deficit, if you want to lose weight. If you want to gain weight, calorie surplus. But remember, we're only talking like a slight deficit or a slight surplus, because you don't want to put on too much weight too quickly, or you just get really fat. Same as you don't want to lose too much weight too quickly. The slow kind of meandering scenic route, if you want the good body, I think, and the healthy body.
I mean, I get most of my clients on a 250 calorie surplus to begin with. And then when the scale stops moving, we add a bit more. We slowly build up over time. And also those calories are not just coming from like chocolate bars. It's coming from good sources of nutrition. So making sure you're getting good quality protein, carbs, fats, and then you add calories using healthier foods as you go on. And that's where the size comes from, not 20 rep sets, although 20 rep set would still do the job as long as progression is taking place. This is something I tell a lot of people as well. No one seems to believe me. Like I spent so many years doing higher rep sets and getting nowhere. And then I switched to low reps, which is mostly meant to be about, building strength, not building size. And
Do you mean when you say low reps, 5 and under?
5 and under,
Because some people will think like, oh, that's your 10 to 12 is your low reps, and they're talking like
5
20.
and under.
But you're talking like classic strength building.
Yeah, really up in that intensity. And I grew like a weed. And that was mostly coming from progression. The rep range didn't matter. What mattered is I got stronger in that rep range, as well as eating enough to facilitate growth.
So how did you actually get started being a personal trainer? Because you have had quite a few jobs, I think. You've done lots of different things, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I've done lots of different things. I was in full-time martial arts at one point, teaching kickboxing, eskrima, children and adults martial arts. I did that full-time for a bit. And then I set up my own one in Bristol, set up my own academy. And then I got a job in a school for a bit, and it was all right, but I didn't really like my manager at the time.
Oh, who does? Let's be fair.
Yeah. So I ended up just being like, well, what can I do? And at this point, I had a fully kitted out home gym. I was like, well, I can PT from my home gym. So I set up the Instagram, just started posting up content. And then as time went on, I accumulated some clients. And that's kind of how I got into it. What about you?
It makes sense, I think, from the perspective, if you're already doing martial arts, then I suppose there's a certain amount of people that take it ultra seriously and they say, can I have some private martial arts sessions and that as well, I guess, like one-to-one.
I've got a handful of clients who just train martial arts with me. I've also got a handful of clients who do a bit of both.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a hybrid routine. We'll do like 30 minutes of lifting, 30 minutes of like kickboxing. And then I've got clients who just do weightlifting with me.
Well, for me, it's a very different story because I originally, so when I chose my options back at GCSE in school, so that we're talking like 13, 14, I already knew that I either wanted to build robots for a living, right? In fact, I actually said I wanted to be head of robotics at Bristol University.
Nice.
Right? That was at 13 years old, I said that.
I love
or
that.
I wanted to go into psychology. And I was not smart enough to do either. So I chose the next best thing, which was to go into electrical engineering in general. And my mum and dad said, you should be an electrician because then you'll be just rich. And I believed them stupidly because everyone told me you never see a poor electrician. So I left school at 16 and got an apprenticeship. And I hated school. It was really, really bad for me. And it just seemed to get even worse when I left because it was even worse working for my first job. But I'm not allowed to talk about that because I signed a non-disclosure agreement in exchange for a considerable amount of money. So again, that might be something that we can allude to in the Patreon
I like that.
at some point in the future.
So we both kind of came to PT later on in our careers, bit of a career shift.
When I had my electrical company, I saw it as a means to an end. I basically said, well, I do enjoy aspects of it. I really like business. That's really interesting. I can only ever be my own boss. I would never struggle. I'd never cope with working for someone else. So when I had two guys working for me and I was like, this is it now. One of them left, the other I had to sack because he was just causing too much problems. Do I either retrain and build my company up so that I can retire, or do I just take the money I've got and go into another career? Which luckily for me, I invested since I was like 18. I was investing money and putting it aside into like stocks and shares, and I was quite lucky with investing in Bitcoin at the right time as well. So I took some time off for a bit and got a job at a DIY store. And then I decided, what is it I want to do with my life? So I did something else, which I'm not allowed to talk about, which might have to be another Patreon thing, right? And then out of that came an interest in poison. So I studied medical herbalism, phytotherapy, which is the study of medicinal plants. And then I was interested in basically becoming a herbalist, which is basically someone that makes medicine from plants, kind of like a herb or doctor kind of thing. But I found that some of the people that I was meeting that want that sort of a service, they talk about having a holistic and healthy lifestyle, and that a lot of them need to lose weight and need to take things seriously. So I figured actually it would be as a complementary thing. Personal training might be a good area to go into just from a knowledge perspective, not as a personal trainer, but just to do the qualification to understand it. And I then ended up falling in love with kind of like I think it's the relationship that you have with clients.
Yeah.
It's basically like that. I see people for half an hour to an hour. They unload their crazy lives. I listen. I chuckle along thinking, thank fuck that's not my life. And then I get them to bench press and we chat. It's the easiest job I have ever had.
Yeah.
And it's really rewarding seeing people go through hardship, have a physical change, and then that carries over into their everyday lives. Because I found specifically the sorts of people that I tend to attract. I have a lot of people with low self-esteem issues, with body dysmorphia, with all that kind of stuff, and with depression and anxiety. And I've kind of developed a way of working to try and help people like that out, which is mainly about, basically I keep prying at people's insecurities and keep asking really, really deep questions over time. And then eventually when they've kind of done enough sets of squats, they're too tired to fight me and they just come all out with it. And then we just slowly over the months pick it apart. And then when they see that physical transformation, like a physical change in the mirror, you then turn around and say, you've done that physically. You're physically a different person to who you was 6 months ago. You can do that for the rest of your life. And then there's something in their mind kind of clicks where they're like, actually, breaking all these workouts into one time. Right, well,